Courtney, you got in last night coming over from Raleigh. What are your initial impressions of Chapel Hill? I kind of like it.
Yeah, I like it too. It's the first time I've ever been to Chapel Hill. I've been to North Carolina before, but never gotten over to the Chapel Hill area, and I really like it. It's kind of weirdly, like a bit of history combined with college town. It's like kind of unique and what it looks like and everything. I really like it. Yeah, I think when you guys were like talking about it, I was like, yeah, I kind of agree with everything they're saying.
A lot of Courtney, a lot of college basketball history there. There's Hall of Famers all around me right now at Sudden Strug, but this is baseball weekend, and there's going to be a good series played between the Tar Heels and the Razorbacks. Just kind of your initial impressions on what Arkansas is having to face off against starting tomorrow.
Well, it's kind of weird, and I'm glad you asked this question because, when obviously they found out they were facing North Carolina, going to their Super Regional, I wanted to, hey, okay, let's look at North Carolina. I've watched a few of their games this year. I wanted to look a little bit deeper into the stats. And when you look at North Carolina and Arkansas, and I know other people have noticed this, when you look at just a stat sheet and compare the two on paper, they're so weirdly similar. And I know when you look at the history, too, they're also weirdly similar in that. But, I don't like to talk too much about the history. It's there. Yes, they have a very similar history when it comes to the postseason. We're talking about here and now. But, again, this year, just looking at what they've been able to do this year, again, it's really weirdly similar. And what I'm talking about, when you look at everything, when you look at batting average, the numbers, Arkansas is batting 272, North Carolina 288, home runs, Arkansas is able to hit 98 this year, North Carolina 100. I mean, it's literally like the numbers are so close like that. So that first struck me as kind of abnormal in looking at both of these teams and how they're going to match up together this weekend. When you look at the stat sheet, the only thing, and I will say this for Arkansas fans, are like, well, what makes them different? If you're looking at the stat sheet, was there anything that was different? For me, it was the amount of runners left on base for UNC. And I know Hog fans are going to go, what? Arkansas leaves a lot of runners left on base. Well, UNC leaves a whole lot more. They've left almost 100 more than Arkansas this season. So that does, that's the one thing that does stand these two teams, maybe the one thing that makes them a little bit different. But besides that, this is going to be an intense Super Regional. I would argue to say this might be the most intense Super Regional of them all because these two teams are so eerily similar, and I can't hammer that home enough. I know you guys were talking about, hey, I hope that Arkansas can win it in two. I hope they can too, because that would be awesome. We can all go home, early, so can Arkansas. We could be talking about Omaha. But I think it might come down to that deciding game 3 just because of just what these two teams have been able to do this year. I mean, North Carolina is not to be one to overlook, and I think Dave Van Horn has known that ever since they found out they were playing them. It seems like he's not doing any overlooking of this team either, and I definitely wouldn't when you look at the stats.
Courtney, when I look at the stats as well, the home run was such an integral part of what got Arkansas to this point. And I know the wind was blowing out, and there were some differences in Stillwater, and we'll get a better look at the park later today. But Brandon Schaefer, who, in fairness, does have more innings than the other starters with 91 innings, has given up 13 home runs. Max Carlson, in 72 innings of work, has given up 9. How big a factor do you think the home run ball will play again this weekend for Arkansas?
I think it's going to be huge. I go back to what Matt Hobbs said in Hoover. When I asked him, I said, look, do you think you guys rely on the home run a little too much? And he goes, no. Honestly, it's just a part of our offense. And I do agree with that a lot. I think Arkansas doesn't, maybe they've relied on it maybe a little too much than people would like, but I think that it is an integral part of their offense. And I think, honestly, if they don't hit home runs, it may not be a great weekend for them. They have to have a few, at least to get it going, get the bats going. It feels like, when one of their guys hits a home run, you can see it kind of comes alive. And I love that sensation, when you're in the ballpark and one of Arkansas's players, and it could be any of them. I mean, Jalen Battles, whoever you want to name, hits a home run.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of comes alive, and you feel the difference. You feel it when you're there. And that's kind of what DVH is talking about when he talks about, hey, there's a different feeling, around the guys right now. They're playing, they're much closer. They're playing differently, and you can feel it. And I think that comes off to, how making it fun, right? I mean, home runs, when you hit a home run, it's fun. And I think the guys feel that. I think it gets them going a little bit. It makes the bats come alive. And that's what they kind of need to get going against the North Carolina team that also, like you said, going back to the stats, North Carolina had hit 16 home runs in their regional. I felt like when I was watching their games, I was like, man, these guys hit a lot of home runs. So I think it's going to be key for Arkansas to keep up with that, because UNC knows this ballpark. UNC knows exactly where they are. I think Arkansas is going to have to keep up with a little bit of that. They kind of come into this with, a little bit of a not, I wouldn't say target on their backs, but maybe a little bit of like, yeah, we are the underdogs in this, and yeah, we have something to prove, because North Carolina knows where they are. They know where they play. They're going to have a lot of fans here. It's going to be tough for Arkansas to come in here and win games. I think they can do it, and I think it's key that they hit a lot of home runs.
Normally this time of the year, your lineup is set, hasn't moved in a while, but we saw a lot of movement in the batting order in the lineup last weekend. For Arkansas, Caden Wallace moving down to 3. Jalen Battles hit a huge home run from the 7-hole, leading off with Braden Webb. Do you think there's any changes, or has Dave finally found the right combination? What will the lineup card look like tomorrow at 10 a.m.?
I think it's exactly like you said. I think this is the winning combination. We saw a lot of success with this in the Stillwater Regional against a really tough Oklahoma State team. I think this is the successful lineup. I don't think if you're Dave Van Horn, you change it. Maybe that's not the case for this weekend, but I truly believe this is the winning combination, and he's found it. I think with the confidence of his players, with how they're playing right now, I think they're riding a high, and I don't think you change a lot, because when you go around and you start changing things, I think you mess up. I'm a little bit superstitious as well. I think you kind of mess up the mojo. This to me is what you keep for this weekend, because you've seen it work. You've now seen it in action. I don't think you change it much, if at all, going into this weekend.
Courtney Mims with us of the Pig Trail Nation. Courtney, last question before we get you out of here. I'm going to get a chance to just kind of travel around, see Durham, see Chapel Hill, and see basketball. Is there anything you're trying to accomplish outside of covering the team this weekend?
Well, yeah, I really want to see a little bit of, like you said, I think you were talking about Jordan Black and where she recommended. I was kind of looking on social media to see where she was commenting to people to go. And you're on Franklin Street, right? That's the place to be. And so I've heard a lot about the different places you can go there. And so I kind of want to go eat a few things, see a few sites. It'd be really cool to go to any. Honestly, I love to see the basketball arena here, but, I don't know how possible that will be with all the craziness of baseball. It's kind of like when you're focused on baseball, it's hard to be like, hey, I'm in Chapel Hill. It'd be cool to see some of the other sites. But, yeah, I definitely plan to go around a little bit. Do you have any recommendations for places you guys have been already?
Oh, Courtney, this is kind of like you, first time here. Tommy suggested to go try and just see the Dean Dome, see Cameron Indoor. So I'm a basketball nut. That's definitely what I'm going to do. Tommy, you got anything else?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of at the same at the core of it, like Courtney said. I mean, we got to eat something good. So I mean, I'm going to try some of that North Carolina barbecue. Everybody can rail on that vinegar sauce, and it's probably not my first choice, but I'm going to be digging into a pulled pork sandwich somewhere with a little coleslaw on it.
Well, that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good to me. I'll have to find the first place I can get my hands on those, and then we'll be talking.
Yeah. So we all have fun this weekend, Courtney, and we look forward to catching up maybe in Omaha.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Hey, I'd love to be talking with y'all in Omaha. See, that's the real goal here, right?
Absolutely. Courtney and Mims, Pig Trail Nation, with us here on the Morning Rush. We're live in Chapel Hill at Sutton's
Partners
Drugstore.
at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.